Delegate Garrett.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, the committee, draw your attention first to Senate Bill 97. Majors here, Senator Reeves. This is legislation we've seen in the past. It basically would increase the distance from 2 feet to 3 feet, the minimum clearance between a passing vehicle and a bicycle or an electric personal assisted mobility device, electric power assisted bicycle or moped, an animal or an animal drawn vehicle. This did receive a full and fair hearing. Senator Reeves did a great job representing his constituents in that regard. It was recommended to be reported by a vote of 5-2, and I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Any seconds? Moved and seconded. Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I speak to the bill, I was working with Delegate Comstock, and I think she might have a motion as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Delegate Comstock.
in discussing with the patron, because of we passed out the HB 82, the bill on following too closely in the past. The patron has had a bill that has both the following too closely and the 3-foot rule here. And in the House in the past, the 3-foot rule had been sometimes it got stopped on the floor. So with the permission of the patron, I wanted to offer a substitute for the following too closely language that we had already passed out of committee here and passed it on the floor.
Do we
Make a motion for a substitute.
do we have a substitute? Well, that's a debate that we've been privately having, whether it's germane or not, and I don't have it in front of me. If you have it in front of you.
Following too close is 46-2816.
Senate Bill 80, House Bill 82 is code 46.2816, and Senate Bill 97 is 46.2839. They are entirely different codes.
Mr. Chairman,
Delegate Habib.
and I guess maybe I'll forward this to the parliamentary inquiry. I actually very much agree with doing both of these. I voted for Delegate Comstock's bill, and I'm going to vote for this bill. If we were inclined to do this, what my suggestion would be, and again, I formed this in the way of a parliamentary inquiry, is we can do this before the bill comes up on the floor. We can get a determination of germaneness. If it's going to be non-germane, we would have to move to reject the substitutes prior to anybody raising germaneness on the floor, at which point we would default back to Senator Reeves's bill and go forward with that. The only risk is if the germaneness issue is raised prior to the motion to reject the substitute, but my guess is we could make sure that those motions were taken in order. So I guess the parliamentary inquiry would be, would the chair agree that that's a way to approach this if we were inclined to do this?
Okay, if I understand the suggestion, it would be to substitute Senate Bill 82 or House Bill 82 for Senate Bill 97. Delegate Comstock, do you want to add, excuse me, add 82 to 97? Your House Bill 82 to Senate Bill 97, or do you want to do a substitute?
Well, I'm amenable if that would work. I'd support both, but I would be concerned. I don't know if the Senator's bill, as it is now, would pass on the floor. We know that following too closely has already done so. If we have an opportunity to deal with one and or the other in the way Delegate Habib has suggested, I would be fine with that.
Delegate Habib, give us your suggestion again.
Let me ask again, is her suggestion to combine the bills or replace Senator Reeves' bill with her bill?
I believe I understand it to be a replacement.
Well, I would be amenable to whichever would be able to pass on the floor, so
Well,
whichever is going to. make
Mr. Chairman, I would say they are either both non-germane or both germane. And whether or not one can pass on the floor or not, I can't predict that. We know yours can pass on the floor. We know less about this one.
And the concern was, we know we've already had one that would pass, so we would at least have something here on bicycle safety that would pass, rather than having this by itself, which may or may not.
Well, my concern is, and I'm certainly not a parliamentarian, but my concern looking at the two is that is it 80, House Bill 82, Delegate Comstock's bill, compared to Senator Reeves's bill, which is Senate Bill 97, would not be germane. Now, whether we can do what Delegate Habib is suggesting, which is to substitute House Bill, Dr. Lombard, keep me straight, House Bill 82 for that, get a determination prior to the floor, and then if we determine it's non-germane, then we can default back to Senator Reeves's Bill 97. Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Chairman,
Delegate Garrett.
I think also for the benefit of the committee, as I understand, Doug Comstock's House bill is sent to Drug Commission on Transportation Accountability for further review, or was defeated in this?
Yeah, they sent it to the commission, but it's a bill that, the following too closely, they had previously voted for Senator McDougal's bill unanimously, yet it was killed yesterday, essentially.
They also passed mine as
Okay, any of the other lawyers on the committee have any thoughts?
Mr. Chairman,
Delegate Habib.
the other option would be to simply report Senator Reeves' bill forward, go get a ruling on how they would rule if a floor substitute was offered,
I'm more comfortable.
and then go that way, then we don't jeopardize his vote.
I'm more comfortable with it. I really do have a germaneness issue on this thing. Let's do that. That way we don't jeopardize,
I'd be fine.
we don't jeopardize
That's fine.
Senator's bill, and if we find out it can be done, then we can do that. That's a good suggestion. Is everybody reasonably comfortable with that? Okay, all right, we're back to Senate Bill 97. Senator Reeves, I interrupted you, I think. Did you have any other comments?
No, Mr. Chairman, I just I appreciate the committee's time, and Delegate Comstock and I'll get it squared away, and we'll figure it out if it's germane, and we'll move over.
Okay. This did have a complete and fair hearing in the subcommittee, but I know there's some bicycle enthusiasts here, so I will give both sides 3 minutes. Anyone in favor of the bill, I would invite them to come forward for a total of 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to say that we've run into the problem of enforceability in the past, the question that always seems to come up. I would like to state it is enforceable, just like running a stop sign is enforceable, and a lot of other things that the law enforcement has to either witness or someone has to complain. As long as it isn't a radar gun or something like that that really definitively says how fast you're going, it can be enforced. And this type of thing is being enforced in Austin, Texas, in Naples, Florida. We're hearing through the advocacy community, other places are checking in and reporting how they're doing it. They put a bike rider who is a plainclothes policeman out with a group and ride with them, and they have a pickup car somewhere, and they're bringing up all kinds of citations doing that. So it can be enforced, and it's a big safety bill. We've got a big event coming here next year. You may have seen the papers yesterday. So we would really like to get this thing through, and everybody else has it. 3-foot passing, 23 states have it. The others have pretty much safe distance and reasonable speed, but our state police a number of years ago asked for a definitive number, and that's what we would like to give them, 3 feet. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. There's about a minute left for anybody else in favor. Seeing none, then I will recognize anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to Senate Bill 97. Seeing or hearing none, move to committee level. We do have a motion duly seconded to approve any question from any member of the committee before we vote. Delegate Hugo.
And maybe, I'm sure this was addressed in subcommittee, and maybe this is a DMV or VDOT question. My district's a lot of curvy one-lane roads, and there's not 3 feet, so, and there's not a lot of ingress and egress. So what happens? Do we ride? I guess we can pass over the double yellow line, but that would be illegal. Or we could ride behind the bike for 2 miles if I get to the next ingress and egress and take it off. Is that the, I'm really asking, is that what happens? Maybe that's a VDOT question, I don't know.
I'm going to ask, who are you?
I'm Cheryl Finucane, I'm with the Virginia Bicycling Federation also.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
I've got knowledge of a couple of studies that have been done, that have looked at that.
I'm going to ask VDOT or the state police. State police, this is probably a question for you. I think we got testimony a couple of weeks ago that a vehicle crossing a double line was a reckless driving charge, but I'll let let the state police answer that.
Mr. Chairman, Dan Glick, State Police, it is a violation to cross over the double stop line.
So you guys,
Mr. Chairman, I just have to ride a couple miles behind the bike before I pass, a few miles. That's, unless I want to violate the law, that's what I end up doing, is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, it's going to depend on the width of the road. I mean, there are, the 2-lane roads that are wide enough that you could possibly, depending on the width of your car, depending on how close the bicyclist road to the edge of the roadway. I mean, there's a lot of variables that you can pack it all into one lane, but it can certainly be challenging.
Thanks.
Delegate Davis.
Mr. Chairman, question for state police as well. I'm sorry, sir.
Captain Blake.
Thank you. Given the 3-foot rule, do you think, or has there been experience that you've heard of other states where people overcompensate? No, I would imagine, and I can't tell what 3 feet is when I'm driving, in the driver's seat and down the road. I mean, do people tend to overcompensate, or is there any issue with that in other states that you've heard of?
Mr. Chairman, nothing that I've heard of. Again, this is more of a local issue, generally speaking, because there's more bikes and more cars in localities, cities. We do it some out on the open road, but not as much. But I have not heard of anything definitive. I think when you witness people passing by with bicycles, they tend to, because no one wants to get so close that if the bicyclist makes a mistake, and swerves or wiggles, that they're getting that close.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, a follow-up question?
Delegate Davis.
Is this a local option today? Can localities put in place a 3-foot rule and enforce it, or is that something that has to come from here as a mandate?
Captain.
Mr. Chairman, to my knowledge, this is a statewide code section. There's no local option.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate Hibby.
Mr. Chairman, speaking of the bill,
Yes,
I
sir.
just want to make sort of a little bit clear, because the issue of enforceability went out the window when we put a 2-foot passing in. There already is a number. It already is or isn't able for the police officers to see that. That issue, frankly, to me, the enforceability issue, was gone years ago. There is a legitimate question, the question that Hugo asked, which is at some point, it becomes too many feet to pass legally. That happens at some point. Now, I support this bill. I think 3 feet is okay. I think if it was 8 feet, you clearly couldn't pass legally. So it's some number between where we are now. It's some number between 0 and an obvious number that you can't do it legally. I think 3 is okay. But that's really the question that Delegate Hugo's hit on. It's legitimate to oppose the bill if you think that that's impossible to pass legally. I'm one who will support the bill because I think that that's a unique circumstance. The message it sends to both the bicycle community and to the driving community is worth adding that extra foot to it. So I support the bill.
Thank you. Delegate Hugo.
Now I was a co-patron of Delegate Comstock's bill because it was too close behind. You didn't want to run up on the bike or not. I appreciate that because we have a lot of bicyclists in my district, or come through my district to ride. But to Delegate Habib's point, you get to a point where 2 feet, it might as well be 8 feet. You start to increase it, and it might as well be 8 feet, because you're just not gonna be able to pass on some of these roads in some of our districts. I mean, if you've got huge lanes and bike lanes and if you can pass and you got plenty of room, that's fine. But for all practical purposes, and Delegate Anderson got the same in a contiguous district, you were riding down country roads, believe it or not, in Fairfax and Prince William, that are narrow, and for miles, you're faced with an option, and you can vote for it or not. I'm saying you've got to make a decision. Either you're going to violate the law and pass around these guys, or you're going to sit there for 2 or 3 miles, 15, miles, because some of our roads don't have ingress and egress. It's just straight. You think you're out in the valley somewhere in some parts of our district. So I think it's this decision people are going to have to make.
All right, other comments? I don't see anyone. There is a motion. Senator Reeves, any final comments before we vote?
Mr. Chairman, I was a police officer for a number of years. This is called, in my mindset, what would a reasonable, prudent person do? Most bicyclists that bike on the road know if they're holding up traffic, and most give a common courtesy of getting off the road if they're back. And when you get the big groups, that's a different story, and I think that's what Delegate Hugo is talking about. But I think it's reasonable. 3 feet's a yardstick. People know what a yardstick is, about how high it is up to your waist to measure. We measure stuff all the time in law enforcement when we're trying to pace a vehicle, and we don't have a radar. We pace behind the vehicle and try to set up a speedometer, and we use our judgment in law enforcement to do that. I think it's reasonable.
Thank you, sir. All right, there is a motion to approve, to report Senate Bill 97 duly seconded. We'll call the roll. Cast your vote on the electronic voting board. Has everyone voted? Close the rolls. Senate Bill 97 is reported 14 yes, 6 nay. Thank you very much, Senator. All right, we have one more report from subcommittee number 2. Delegate Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, I draw your attention to Senate Bill 408, legislation brought forward by Senator McWaters. This is not legislation we've heard over the years. Basically, what this would now do is require the Department of State Police to amend its regulations to include inspection of window tinting as part of the motor vehicle safety inspection. So this would require our 4,500 state inspection stations to acquire the equipment, a tint meter, to measure the tinting of your windows as part of your 24 or 26 point, however many different points there are in that, whatever there are in that inspection that's currently there. And Senator McWaters explained how this tinting of windows is not part of this inspection currently and would now sort of become part of that inspection. Part of this concern was brought, as was discussed in subcommittee, there are a number of these vehicles that are being sold out of Texas and Florida that are heavily tinted, and they come to the state of Virginia. Someone will purchase a car and not realize that it's tinting, which currently, Mr. Chairman, as you know, is limited to 35% in the rear windows and 50% in the front, meaning you can block up to 65% of the light going in the rear and 50% of the light going in the front. This has been a public safety issue for years. This did receive a full and fair hearing and was recommended for a report by a vote of 5-2, and I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to report Senate Bill 408. Questions from the committee, from anyone? Delegate Habib.
Mr. Chairman, question for the subcommittee chairman. Yes. Delegate Garrett, just those